Good morning. Been a while since we did one of these, so I'm going to go ahead and try to make this a quick one. It'll only be like 5 chapters. It's been a rough morning. Echo's really not doing well. But he's sitting by me. Echo. I made a big old chicken breast. Cut him up a big piece of it. I put it in his food bowl on top of some canned pumpkin, hoping he would just eat the chicken and get a little bit of the pumpkin with it. But he won't touch it. I've never seen him not eat chicken before. He's not doing good. When I got home, it took like an hour for him to stand up. He wouldn't. Usually if I say go outside, he runs to the door. And he just wouldn't stand up. And then when he finally stood up, he was like wobbling. He made it down the stairs, but I had to carry him up the stairs. What you doing, bud? He's sitting by me. What you doing, Echo? Why don't you go eat that chicken? Anyway, I'm just going to read like 5 chapters of Esther. It's for the ladies. The book for the ladies. The book of Esther. Let me do a little search of what's happening in Esther. Esther, I need Google, not this website, whatever this is. Esther history. Where you going, buddy? You walking around? Hey, bud. Hey, buddy. You need to go eat that chicken. He can barely walk. Like his back legs barely, it's like his back legs don't work. Hardly. The story is set in Persia, diaspora, around 480 BC, and explains the origin of the Jewish festival of Purim. While historically debated, it is generally considered a literary work with a potential core of truth, possibly written in 2nd century BCE. Esther is a Jewish orphan who, with her cousin Mordecai, rose to prominence in the Persian court. Esther's cousin and guardian, who adopted her and remained close to the royal court, helping to uncover plots against the king and guiding Esther. King Ahasuerus, 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 the king of the Persian Empire, who chose Esther as his queen after a nationwide search. Haman is a Persian official who plotted to destroy all the Jews in the empire. The story is set in Susa, the capital of the ancient Persian Empire during the period after the Babylonian exile. So, Esther author. Who's the author? So this is historical. historically debated on whether it's just a legend or fact, like a true story. The author of the Book of Esther is unknown, though early Jewish tradition suggests Mordecai as the possible author. The text itself contains details that point to a knowledgeable Jew from the Persian court as the author, possibly even Esther herself. While the author is not named, the book is believed to have been written by a Jew who was familiar with the customs and history of Persia, possibly to record the origin of the festival of Purim for the Jewish community. All right. Well, let us go. Let's go. Let's get into this. I'm so tired right now. Chapter 1. Now it came to pass in the days of Ahasuerus. This is Ahasuerus, which reigned from India even unto Ethiopia over 120 provinces. That in those days, when the king Ahasuerus sat on the throne of his kingdom, which was in Shushan the palace, in the 3rd year of his reign, he made a feast unto all his princes and his servants, the power of Persia and Media, the nobles and princes of the provinces were being before him. When he showed the riches of his glorious kingdom and the honor of his excellent majesty many days, even 180 days. And when these days were expired, the king made a feast unto all the people that were present in Shushan, the palace both unto great and small, 7 days in the court of the garden of the king's palace, where were white, green, and blue hangings fastened with cords of fine linen, and purple to silver rings and pillars of marble. The beds were of gold and silver upon a pavement of red and blue and white and black marble. And they gave them drink in vessels of gold, the vessels being diverse one from another, and royal wine in abundance according to the state of the king. And the drinking was according to the law. None did compel. For so the king had appointed to all the officers of his house that they should do according to every man's pleasure. For compel. None did trouble. The drinking was according to the law. None did trouble. Esther 1:4. Oh no, Esther 1:8. What's the meaning of that? Is it saying that nobody drank enough to get drunk? Or is it saying that he... Because it says do according to his pleasure. King Xerxes' extravagant feast, a specific decree was set. The drinking was according to the law, none did compel, meaning guests were free to drink as much or as little as they pleased, without any forced limits or the expectation to drink to excess. This unusual lack of compulsion highlighted the king's desire to lavishly please his guests, emphasizing the opulence of the Persian court, even though it contrasted the early temperance of the Persian people. So normally maybe there would be a limit to how much you could drink, but for this special event, he let them drink as much as they wanted. Shows the king's direct command to his household staff to allow each guest the freedom to choose how much they drank. Oh, none did compel could also mean that, so in some cultures, guests were required to drink, but you weren't forced to drink, but you also were not forced to stop drinking. You were allowed to drink as much or as little as you wanted. And it's to show the opulence and the excess of the Persian Empire at this time. So he's got enough abundance that he can just let people drink as much as they want, but also not force them to drink. One second. I need to get some water. Sorry. Okay. Sorry. I was looking at something. All right. Also, Vashti the queen made a feast for the women in the royal house which belonged to King Ahasuerus. On the seventh day, when the heart of the king was merry with wine, he commanded Mehuman, Biztha, Hasbonah, Bigtha, and Abagtha, Zethar, and Carcass, the seven chamberlains that served in the presence of Ahasuerus the king, to bring Vashti the queen before the king with the crown royal, to show the people and the princes her beauty, for she was fair to look on. But the queen Vashti refused to come at the king's commandment by his chamberlains. Therefore was the king very wroth, and his anger burned in him. Then the king said to the wise men, which knew the times, for so was the king's manner toward all that knew law and judgment. And the next unto him was Karshina, Shethar, Admatha, Tarshish, Meres, Marsina, and Memucan, the seven princes of Persia. And Media, which saw the king's face, and which sat first in the kingdom. What shall we do unto the queen Vashti, according to law, because she hath not performed the commandment of the king Ahasuerus by the chamberlains? And Memucan answered before the king and the princes, Vashti the queen hath not done wrong to the king only, but also to all the princes and to all the people that are in the provinces of the king Ahasuerus. For this deed of the queen shall come abroad unto all women, so that they shall despise their husbands in their eyes when it shall be reported. The king Ahasuerus commanded Vashti the queen to be brought in before him, but she came not. Basically, they're saying he demanded that she come in to the party, get dressed up, come to the party. She said, I don't want to. And he said, what am I going to do about this woman? And the wise men said, well, we got to do something. Because if all these women see her openly disobeying you, then they're going to think it's okay, and they're all going to start disobeying their husbands. So we need to do something about this, king. I wonder what they're going to do to Queen Vashti. Doesn't sound good for Queen Vashti. Vashti? Likewise shall the ladies of Persia and Media say this day unto all the king's princes which have heard of the deed of the queen, thus shall there arise too much contempt and wrath. If it please the king, let there go a royal commandment from him, and let it be written among the laws of the Persians and the Medes, that it be not altered, that Vashti come no more before King Ahasuerus, and let the king give her royal estate unto another that is better than she. Oh, they're about to replace her. You can be replaced. And when the king's decree which he shall make shall be published throughout all his empire, for it is great, all the wives shall give to their husbands honor, both to great and small. And the saying pleased the king and the princes, and the king did according to the word of Memucan. For he sent letters unto all the king's provinces, into every province according to the writing thereof, and to every people after their language, that every man should bear rule in his own house, and that it should be published according to the language of every people. That verse go hard. Okay, so basically, the king's wife disobeyed him publicly, and they said, get rid of her. You can replace her. Find a new one. That's an interesting story right there. Interesting story right there. All right, chapter 2. Now he needs a new wife. He's got to find a replacement for Vashti. After these things, when the wrath of King Ahasuerus was appeased, he remembered Vashti and what she had done, and what was decreed against her. Then said the king's servants that ministered unto him, let there be fair young virgins sought for the king. Oh, how dare a guy seek a virgin? That's horrible. Oh my goodness. And let the king appoint officers in all the provinces of his kingdom, that they may gather together all the fair young virgins unto Shushan the palace, to the house of the women, unto the custody of Heg, the king's chamberlain, keeper of the women, and let their things be purification. Let their Sorry, I can't read right now. I'm out of it. My mind's not here. And let their things for purification be given them, and let the maiden which pleaseth the king be queen instead of Vashti. And the thing pleased the king, and he did so. Now in Shushan the palace there was a certain Jew whose name was Mordecai, the son of Jair, the son of Shimei, the son of Kish, a Benjamite, who had been carried away from Jerusalem with the captivity, which had been carried away with Jeconiah, king of Judah, whom Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, had carried away. And he brought up Hadassah, that is Esther, his uncle's daughter, for she had neither father nor mother, and the maid was fair and beautiful, whom Mordecai, when her father and mother were dead, took for his own daughter. So it came to pass, when the king's commandment and his decree was heard, and when many maidens were gathered together unto Shushan the palace, to the custody of Hegai, that Esther was brought also unto the king's house, to the custody of Hegai, keeper of the women. And the maiden pleased him, and she obtained kindness of him. And he speedily gave her things for purification, with such things as belonged to her, and 7 maidens, which were meet to be given her, out of the king's house. And he preferred her and her maids unto the best place of the house of the women. Esther had not showed her people nor her kindred, for Mordecai had changed her that she should not show it. And Mordecai walked every day before the court of the women's house to know how Esther did and what should become of her. So, didn't show her people. I guess maybe he dressed her up a little bit differently than she would normally look, so they wouldn't know. Maybe she's a poor orphan girl. Maybe he doesn't want them to know that, because they're Persian. Maybe he doesn't want them to know that she's a Benjamite, or maybe he doesn't want them to know that she's poor. She wasn't raised by her mother and father. Basically, he disguised her. Now, when every maid's turn was come to go into the king Ahasuerus, after that she had been 12 months, according to the manner of the women, for so were the days of their purifications accomplished, to wit, 6 months with oil of myrrh, and 6 months with sweet odors, and with other things, for the purifying of the women. Took a year to purify these women. A year of purification. And they're all virgins. But they're pure now. Then thus came every maiden unto the king. Whatsoever she desired was given her, to go with her out of the house of the women unto the king's house. In the evening she went, and on the morrow she returned into the second house of the women, to the custody of Shaashgaz, the king's chamberlain, which kept the concubines. She came in unto the king no more, except the king delighted in her, and that she were called by name. Now when the turn of Esther, the daughter of Abihail, the uncle of Mordecai, whom had taken her for his daughter, was come to go in unto the king, she required nothing but what Hegai, the king's chamberlain, the keeper of the women, appointed. And Esther obtained favor in the sight of all them that looked upon her. So Esther was taken unto King Ahasuerus into his house royal in the 10th month, which is the month Tebeth, in the 7th year of his reign. Now, sometimes coming in unto the king could just mean, you walked in the room with him. Usually, going in unto somebody or coming in unto somebody means Sessy time. Now, I don't know if this king was having sessy time with all these ladies, but it seems likely, but I don't know. And the king loved Esther above all the women, and she obtained grace and favor in his sight more than all the virgins, so that he set the royal crown upon her head and made her queen instead of Vashti. Then the king made a great feast unto all. Now it says loved her more than all the virgins, which kind of assumes that she's still a virgin at this point. Then the king made a great feast unto all his princes and his servants, even Esther's feast. And he made a release to the provinces and gave gifts according to the state of the king. And when the virgins were gathered together the second time, then Mordecai sat in the king's gate. Esther had not yet shown her kindred nor her people, as Mordecai had charged her, for Esther did the commandment of Mordecai, like as when she was brought up with him. In those days, while Mordecai sat in the king's gate, two of the king's chamberlains, Bigtha and Teresh, of those which kept the door, were wroth and sought to lay hand on the king Ahasuerus. And the thing was known to Mordecai, who told it to Esther the queen, and Esther certified the king thereof in Mordecai's name. And when inquisition was made of the matter, it was found out. Therefore they were both hanged on a tree, and it was written in the book of Chronicles before the king. These ladies were plotting on our boy Ahasuerus. Mordecai and Esther saved the day. Let's go, based Esther. Chapter 3. After these things did King Ahasuerus promote Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, and advanced him and set his seat above all the princes that were with him. And all the king's servants that were in the king's gate bowed and reverenced Haman, for the king had so commanded concerning him. But Mordecai bowed not, nor did him reverence. Then the king's servants, which were in the king's gate, said unto Mordecai, Why transgressest thou the king's commandment? Now it came to pass when they spake daily unto him, and he hearkened not unto them, that they told Haman to see whether Mordecai's matters would stand. For he had told them that he was a Jew. And when Haman saw that Mordecai bowed not, nor did him reverence, then was Haman full of wrath. So Mordecai's not bowing because he bows to God. And he thought scorn to lay hands on Mordecai alone, for they had showed him the people of Mordecai. Wherefore Haman sought to destroy all the Jews that were throughout the whole kingdom of Ahasuerus, even the people of Mordecai. In the first month, that is the month Nisan, in the 12th year of King Ahasuerus, they cast pure, that is the lot, before Haman from day to day and from month to month, to the 12th month, that is the month Adar. And Haman said unto King Ahasuerus, so pure, I think that's Purim. They cast pure. They cast pure. Chapter 3, verse 7. Esther. Describes how Haman, seeking to destroy the Jews, cast lots, or pure, to determine a lucky day for his plan, ultimately choosing the 13th day of the 12th month, Adar. The casting of the lot, or pure, was a superstitious practice to find a propitious time for a significant event. The verse highlights the human effort to control destiny, while also foreshadowing the human effort. The verse highlights the human effort to control destiny, while also foreshadowing the theme of divine providence in the book of Esther. Casting lots, the human effort to control destiny. As if God doesn't know what your dice is going to land on, or what your coin flip is going to show. Okay. If it please the king, let it be written that they may be destroyed, and I will pay 10,000 talents of silver to the hands of those that have the charge of the business to bring it into the king's treasuries. And the king took his ring from his hand and gave it unto Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, the Jews' enemy. And the king said unto Haman, the silver is given to thee, the people also, to do with them as it seemeth good to thee. Then were the king's scribes called on the 13th day of the first month, and there was written according to all that Haman had commanded unto the king's lieutenants, and to the governors that were over every province, and to the rulers of every people of every province, according to the writing thereof, and to every people after their language. In the name of King Ahasuerus was it written, and sealed with the king's ring. And the letters were sent by post into all the king's provinces to destroy, to kill, and to cause to perish all Jews, both young and old, little children and women, in one day, even upon the 13th day of the 12th month, which is the month Adar, and to take the spoil of them for a prey. The copy of the writing for a commandment to be given in every province was published unto all people, that they should be ready against that day. The posts went out, being hastened by the king's commandment, and the decree was given in Shushan the palace. And the king and Haman sat down to drink, but the city Shushan was perplexed. So Haman's planning to wipe out all of them. Chapter 4. When Mordecai perceived all that was done, Mordecai rent his clothes and put on sackcloth with ashes, and went out into the midst of the city and cried with a loud and bitter cry, and came even before the king's gate, for none might enter into the king's gate clothed with sackcloth. And in every province, whithersoever the king's commandment and his decree came, there was great mourning among the Jews, and fasting and weeping and wailing, and many lay in sackcloth and ashes. So Esther's maids and her chamberlains came and told it to her. Then was the queen exceedingly grieved, and she sent raiment to clothe Mordecai and to take away his sackcloth from him, but he received it not. So basically, he's wearing sackcloth because this is how they would mourn publicly. They'd tear their clothes, they'd put sackcloth on, cover themselves in ashes, and they'd go out to show that they were mourning, that they were grieving something. Esther sends him a nice garment to wear, says, "Hey, you can't come into this area by the king if you're wearing that. He won't allow it. Here's some nice clothes. Come in here, Dad. Adopted Dad." He says no, he doesn't want it. Then called Esther for Hatak, one of the king's chamberlains, whom he had appointed to attend upon her, and gave him a commandment to Mordecai to know what it was and why it was. So Hatak went forth to Mordecai unto the street of the city, which was before the king's gate. And Mordecai told him of all that had happened unto him, and of the sum of money that Haman had promised to pay the king's treasuries for the Jews to destroy them. Also he gave them the copy of the writing of the decree that was given at Shushan to destroy them, to show it unto Esther, and to declare it unto her, and to charge her that she should go in unto the king, to make supplication unto him, and to make request before him for her people. And Hatak came and told Esther the words of Mordecai. Okay, so Mordecai sent a messenger and said, "Esther, you got to go. You got to go in unto the king, and you got to make sure he doesn't kill us all." Again, Esther spake unto Hatak and gave him commandment unto Mordecai. All the king's servants and all the people of the king's provinces do know that whatsoever, whether man or woman, shall come unto the king into the inner court, who is not called, there is one law of his to put him to death, except such of whom the king shall hold out the golden scepter, that he may live. But I have not been called to come in unto the king these 30 days. And they told to Mordecai Esther's words. So Esther's saying, I can't go in there. I haven't been called. I can't just walk in there or he'll kill me. Then Mordecai commanded to answer Esther, "Think not with thyself that thou shalt escape in the king's house more than all the Jews. For if thou altogether holdest thy peace at this time, then shall their enlargement and deliverance arise to the Jews from another place. But thou and thy father's house shall be destroyed. And who knoweth whether thou art come to the kingdom for such a time as this?" Then Esther bade them return Mordecai this answer: "Go, gather together all the Jews that are present in Shushan, and fast ye for me, and neither eat nor drink 3 days, night or day. I also and my maidens will fast likewise, and so will I go in unto the king, which is not according to the law. And if I perish, I perish. So Mordecai went his way and did according to all that Esther had commanded him. So Mordecai is outside and he's sending messages to Esther. He's saying, plead with the king. Go in, supplicate him. Go in unto him and supplicate him. Make him happy. Be nice and make him happy. And then beg for him not to kill all of the Jews. And Esther says, I can't. If I go in and I haven't been requested, if he hasn't held the golden scepter out and said, enter, if I go in outside of the time that I'm allowed to go in, he'll kill me. And Mordecai said, how do you know that you weren't put there for a time like this? How do you know that you're not there to save us? Maybe that's why you're there. And she says, okay, go fast for 3 days. We'll fast for 3 days. All of us, let's fast and pray about this. In 3 days, I'll go in unto the king. And if he kills me, then I die. And we all die. Chapter 5. Now it came to pass on the 3rd day that Esther put on her royal apparel and stood in the inner court of the king's house, over against the king's house. And the king sat upon his royal throne in the royal house, over against the gate of the house. And it was so, when the king saw Esther, the queen, standing in the court, that she obtained favor in his sight. And the king held out to Esther the golden scepter that was in his hand. So Esther drew near and touched the top of the scepter. She touched the top of the scepter. You know what that means. Then said the king unto her, what wilt thou, Queen Esther? And what is thy request? It shall be even given thee to the half of the kingdom. And Esther answered, if it seem good unto the king, let the king and Haman come this day unto the banquet that I have prepared for him. Then the king said, cause Haman to make haste, that he may do as Esther hath said. So the king and Haman came to the banquet that Esther had prepared. And the king said unto Esther at the banquet of wine, what is thy petition? And it shall be granted thee. And what is thy request? Even to the half of the kingdom it shall be performed. Then Esther answered and said, my petition and my request is, if I have found favor in the sight of the king, and if it please the king to grant my petition and to perform my request, let the king and Haman come to the banquet that I shall prepare before them, and I will do tomorrow as the king has said. Then went Haman forth that day joyful and with a glad heart. And when Haman saw Mordecai in the king's gate, that he stood not up nor moved for him, he was full of indignation against Mordecai. Nevertheless, Haman refrained himself, and when he came home, he sent and called for his friends and Zeresh his wife. And when Haman told them of the glory of his riches and the multitude of his children, he's trying to... I thought he was eating. He's not eating. He was making weird noises. He's trying to stand up, and he's just like swimming on the floor. Okay. And Haman told them of the glory of his riches and the multitude of his children, and all the things wherein the king had promoted him, and how he advanced him above the princes and servants of the king. Haman said moreover, yea, Esther the queen did let no man come in with the king unto the banquet that she had prepared, but myself. And tomorrow Tomorrow am I invited unto her also with the king. Yet all this availeth me nothing, so long as I see Mordecai the Jew sitting at the king's gate. So Mordecai's like, Esther made us a feast. Only me and the king were invited. And tomorrow we get another feast. But I'm not even happy about it because this guy Mordecai won't bow to me at the gate. He's always sitting out there in his sackcloth mourning because we're going to kill all the Jewish people. And he won't bow to me. It seems to me like Mordecai should just bow. But anyway. Then said Zeresh his wife and all his friends unto him. So I don't think they know that Mordecai is Esther's adopted dad yet. Let a gallows be made of 50 cubits high, and tomorrow speak thou unto the king that Mordecai may be hanged thereon. Then go thou in merrily with the king unto the banquet. And the thing pleased Haman, and he caused the gallows to be made. Is there only 10 chapters in this book? Maybe we'll just read this whole book. Chapter 6. On that night could not the king sleep, and he commanded to bring the book of records of the chronicles, and they were read before the king. And it was found written that Mordecai had told of Bigthana and Teresh, two of the king's chamberlains, the keepers of the door, who sought to lay hand on the king Ahasuerus. And the king said, What honor and dignity hath been done to Mordecai for this? Then said the king's servants that ministered unto him, There is nothing done for him. So the king's thinking about Mordecai being out there. And he goes and looks in the records and he sees this guy who's out there in sackcloth is the guy that saved my life when my two chamberlains were going to kill me. What has he been given like a medal or anything? Nope, he hasn't been given a medal yet. And the king said, Who is in the court? Now Haman was come into the outward court of the king's house to speak unto the king to hang Mordecai on the gallows that he had prepared for him. And the king's servant said unto him, Behold, Haman standeth in the court. And the king said, Let him come in. Haman's going to request to kill Mordecai. And the king's going to be like, Mordecai saved my life. What are you talking about? So Haman came in, and the king said unto him, What shall be done unto the man whom the king delighteth to honor? Now Haman thought in his heart, To whom would the king delight to honor more than to myself? And Haman answered the king, For the man whom the king delighteth to honor, let the royal apparel be brought, which the king useth to wear, and the horse that the king rideth upon, and the crown royal which is set upon his head. And let this apparel and horse be delivered to the hand of the one of the king's most noble princes, that they may array the man with all whom the king delighteth to honor, and bring him on horseback through the street of the city, and proclaim before him, Thus shall it be done to the man whom the king delighteth to honor. So Haman thinks that the king is talking about him. The king's like, What should I do about that guy that I want to honor? Haman's like, Oh, he's talking about me. Give him everything. And the king's going to be like, Okay. Then the king said to Haman, Make haste, and take the apparel and the horse, as thou hast said, and do even so to Mordecai the Jew that sitteth at the king's gate. Let nothing fail of all that thou hast spoken. Then took Haman the apparel and the horse, and arrayed Mordecai, and brought him on horseback through the street of the city, and proclaimed before him, Thus shall it be done unto the man whom the king delighteth to honor. And Mordecai came again to the king's gate, but Haman hasted to his house, mourning and having his head covered. And Haman told Zeresh his wife and all his friends everything that had befallen him. Then said his wise men and Zeresh his wife unto him, If Mordecai be of the seed of the Jews, before whom thou hast begun to fall, thou shalt not prevail against him, but shalt surely fall before him. And while they were yet talking with him, came the king's chamberlains, and hasted to bring Haman unto the banquet that Esther had prepared. So now Haman's going to the dinner from the day before that the second banquet that Esther prepared. Haman built a gallows to hang Mordecai, and then instead had to put all the royal clothes on him and walk him around the city on a horse shouting, This guy is awesome. Sucks for Haman. And then he goes back and cries to his wife and his friends, and they're like, yo, if Mordecai is a Jew, you don't want to mess with him. They got this God guy, and he doesn't play. If Mordecai's being blessed right now, you don't stand a chance, Haman. Don't mess with him. So the king and Haman came to the banquet with Esther the queen, and the king said again unto Esther on the second day, at the banquet of wine, what is thy petition, Queen Esther? And it shall be granted thee. And what is thy request? And it shall be performed, even to half of the kingdom. Then Esther the queen answered and said, if I have found favor in thy sight, O king, and if it please the king, let my life be given me at my petition, and my people at my request. For we are sold, I and my people, to be destroyed, to be slain, and to perish. But if we had been sold for bondmen and bondwomen, I had held my tongue, although the enemy could not countervail the king's damage. Then the king Ahasuerus answered and said unto Esther the queen, who is he, and where is he, that durst presume in his heart to do so? And Esther said, the adversary and enemy is this wicked Haman. Then Haman was afraid before the king and the queen. And the king, arising from the banquet of wine in his wrath, went into the palace garden, and Haman stood up to make, he's going to get hung on the gallows that he built for Mordecai. Haman stood up to make request for his life to Esther the queen, for he saw that there was evil determined against him by the king. Then the king returned out of the palace garden into the place of the banquet of wine, and Haman was fallen upon the bed whereon Esther was. Then said the king, will he force the queen also before me in the house? So he's basically saying, are you going to rape my queen in front of me? As the word went out of the king's mouth, they covered Haman's face. So Haman goes to beg Esther for mercy, lays down on the bed where Esther's laying, saying, Esther, please, Esther, please. King walks in, sees Haman laying on top of Esther crying. Said, you're going to try to grape her in my house? Get him. They put a bag over his head. And Harbona, one of the chamberlains, said before the king, behold also the gallows, 50 cubits high, which Haman had made for Mordecai, who had spoken good for the king, standeth in the house of Haman. Then the king said, hang him thereon. So they hanged Haman on the gallows that he had prepared for Mordecai. Then was the king's wrath pacified. Dang. That's a story. I've heard that story before. I heard of Haman getting hung on his own gallows. That's a story right there. Hold on, let me highlight a few things just to remember this. Will he force the queen also before me out of the house? Okay, recap of the story. Mordecai won't bow to Haman. Haman gets butt hurt. Haman is like second in command. Haman says, at this date, I'm going to wipe out all the Jews. Man, woman, and child. I'm going to wipe them all out. Get ready because of you, Mordecai. Mordecai, Esther is the queen. Ahasuerus does not know that Esther is a Jew yet because she's hidden her. She hasn't showed her lineage to him. She hasn't said who her people are. But they know Mordecai's a Jew. Mordecai is mourning. He can't come in before the king. So he's sending messages to Esther. Esther, talk to the king. Talk to the king. Save our people. They're going to kill all our people. Esther says, I can't. I can't go in there. He's going to kill me. Mordecai said, listen, if you don't try, we're all dead anyway. If you don't at least try, once they find out you're Jewish, they're going to kill you too. You think they won't kill you too? Esther says, all right, I'll give it a shot. Esther goes in. The king says, come on in. She says, let me make you a dinner. Makes him dinner. Haman goes to the dinner. Haman goes home. Says, yo, this Mordecai guy, what am I going to do about him? His wife says, build a 50-foot high gallows to hang him. He says, all right, I'll do that. Next day, goes back to the banquet. The king says, I'm going to reward. Now, in the meantime, king finds out Mordecai saved his life from his two chamberlains that wanted to kill him. Mordecai exposed it and saved the king's life. So the king says, I need to reward Mordecai. So the king says, Haman, how should I reward the guy? How should I reward the guy that I honor more than anybody else right now? Haman's thinking, that's me. Well, you should give him, the royal treatment. King says, all right, go give Mordecai the royal treatment. Book of Esther is gangster. And Haman's like, what? What the? Haman has to walk Mordecai around on a horse with royal clothes on, shouting, all hail Mordecai. Haman's pissed. Haman goes home crying to his wife and his buddies. Well, he honored Mordecai instead of me. They said, yo, this Mordecai's Jewish. You need to get away from there. You are going to lose this fight. And then the second banquet, Esther says, listen, I'm a Jew, and somebody wants to kill all the Jews. And the king says, who, Esther? She says, Haman. The king says, all right, come with me, Haman. King Ahasuerus walks out to the garden. Where's Haman? Haman's not here. King goes in to look for him, finds Haman laying on the bed with Esther. King thinks, what are you trying to do to my wife? What the? Get him. They put a bag over his head. And then one of the chamberlains says, hey, king, you know he built a 50-foot gallows in like a day because he was going to hang Mordecai on it? King's like, Mordecai's based. Hang Haman on his own gallows. The end. That's a great story. Great story. I like that one. All right. There's only 10 chapters in Esther. I might as well just finish it. King said, hell no, not my main girl, cut. That's right. On that day did the king Ahasuerus give the house of Haman, the Jews' enemy, unto Esther the queen. And Mordecai came before the king, for Esther had told what he was unto her. And the king took off his ring, which he had taken from Haman, and gave it unto Mordecai. And Esther set Mordecai over the house of Haman. And Esther spake yet again before the king, and fell down at his feet, and besought him with tears to put away the mischief of Haman the Agagite, and his device that he had devised against the Jews. Then the king held out the golden scepter toward Esther, so Esther arose and stood before the king, and said, if it please the king, and if I have found favor in his sight, and the thing seem right before the king, and I be pleasing in his eyes, let it be written to reverse the letters devised by Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, which he wrote to destroy the Jews which are in all the king's provinces. For how can I endure to see the evil that shall come unto my people? Or how can I endure to see the destruction of my kindred? Then the king Ahasuerus said unto Esther the queen, and to Mordecai the Jew, behold, I have given Esther the house of Haman, and him they have hanged upon the gallows, because he laid his hands upon the Jews. Write ye also for the Jews, as it liketh you, in the king's name, and seal it with the king's ring. For the writing which is written in the king's name, and sealed with the king's ring, may no man reverse. Then were the king's scribes called at that time in the 3rd month, that is the month of Sivan, on the 23rd day thereof, and it was written according to all that Mordecai commanded unto the Jews, and to the lieutenants, and the deputies, and rulers of the provinces which are from India unto Ethiopia, 127 provinces, unto every province according to the writing thereof, and unto every people after their language, and to the Jews according to their writing and according to their language. And he wrote in King Ahasuerus' name, and sealed it with the king's ring, and sent letters by post on horseback, and riders on mules, camels, and young dromedaries. Wherein the king granted the Jews which were in every city to gather themselves together, and to stand for their life, to destroy, to slay, and to cause to perish all the power of the people and province that would assault them, both little ones and women, and to take the spoil of them for a prey. Upon one day in all the provinces of King Ahasuerus, namely upon the 13th day of the 12th month, which is the month Adar, the copy of the writing for a commandment to be given in every province was published unto all people, and that the Jews should be ready against that day to avenge themselves on their enemies. So the posts that rode upon mules and camels went out, being hastened and pressed on by the king's commandment, and the decree was given at Shushan the palace. And Mordecai went out from the presence of the king in royal apparel of blue and white, and with a great crown of gold, and with a garment of fine linen and purple. And the city of Shushan rejoiced and was glad. The Jews had light and gladness and joy and honor. And in every province and in every city, whithersoever the king's commandment and his decree came, the Jews had joy and gladness, a feast and a good day. And many of the people of the land became Jews, for the fear of the Jews fell upon them. Many people became Jews because the fear of the Jew fell upon them. Dang. So this is the meaning and the story behind the Feast of Purim, which I think probably ties to the word pure, which is to cast lots, because that's what started all this, was casting lots, as if it wasn't already destined. Wait, is there? This must be like one of the shortest chapters in the Bible. It's only 3 verses. Anyway, chapter 10, but chapter 9 first. Now, in the 12th month, that is the month Adar, on the 13th day of the same, when the king's commandment and his decree drew near and be put in execution, in the day that the enemies of the Jews hoped to have power over them, though it was turned to the contrary that the Jews had rule over them that hated them, the Jews gathered themselves together in their cities throughout all the provinces of the king Ahasuerus to lay hands on such as sought their hurt. And no man could withstand them, for the fear of them fell upon all people. And all the rulers of the provinces, and the lieutenants, and the deputies, and officers of the king helped the Jews, because the fear of Mordecai fell upon them. For Mordecai was great in the king's house, and his fame went out throughout all the provinces. For this man Mordecai waxed greater and greater. Thus the Jews smote all their enemies with the stroke of the sword, and slaughter and destruction, and did what they would unto those that hated them. Dang, savage. Savagery. What the? See, this is why you don't talk bad about the Jews. And in Shushan, the palace, the Jews slew and destroyed 500 men. And Parshandatha, and Dalphon, and Aspatha, and Porotha, and Adaliah, and Aridatha, and Parmashta, and Arisai, and Aridai, and Vajezatha, the 10 sons of Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the enemy of the Jews, slew they. But on the spoil laid they not their hand. On that day the number of those that were slain in Shushan the palace was brought before the king. And the king said unto Esther the queen, the Jews have slain and destroyed 500 men in Shushan the palace, and the 10 sons of Haman. What have they done in the rest of the king's provinces? Now what is thy petition, and it shall be granted thee? Or what is thy request further, and it shall be done? Then said Esther, if it please the king, let it be granted to the Jews which are in Shushan to do tomorrow also according unto this day's decree, and let Haman's 10 sons be hanged upon the gallows. Dang, Esther is a savage, dude. Esther don't play. Then said Esther, if it please the king, I already read that. And the king commanded it so to be done. And the decree was given at Shushan, and they hanged Haman's 10 sons. For the Jews that were in Shushan gathered themselves together on the 14th day also of the month Adar, and slew 300 men at Shushan. but on the prey they laid not their hand. But the other Jews that were in the king's provinces gathered themselves together, and stood for their lives, and had rest from their enemies, and slew of their foes 75,000. But they laid not their hands on the prey. So they're not taking any booty, they're not taking any loot, they're just killing them all. This is self-defense. You got to kill 75,000 people sometimes to defend your nation. On the 13th day of the month Adar, and on the 14th day of the same, rested they, and made it a day of feasting and gladness. So the Feast of Purim, we celebrate 80,000, anti-Semites getting slaughtered. But the Jews that were at Shushan assembled together on the 13th day thereof, and on the 14th day thereof, and on the 15th day of the same they rested, and made it a day of feasting and gladness. Therefore the Jews of the villages that dwelt in the unwalled towns made the 14th day of the month Adar a day of gladness and feasting, and a good day, and of sending portions one to another. Yeah, not a day of slaughter. And Mordecai wrote these things and sent letters unto all the Jews that were in the provinces of the king Ahasuerus, both nigh and far, to establish this among them, that they should keep the 14th day of the month Adar, and the 15th day of the same yearly, as the days wherein the Jews rested from their enemies, and the month which was turned unto them from sorrow to joy, and from mourning into a good day. Mourning with a U, sadness into a good day. And they should make them days of feasting and joy, and of sending portions one to another, and gifts to the poor. And the Jews undertook to do as they had begun, and as Mordecai had written unto them. Because Haman, the son of Hammedatha, and this is the 13th day of the 12th month. Not gonna lie, realizing I'm God makes me sad for everyone in the Bible. Yeah, you should realize you're also psychotic, Marilyn. Because Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, the enemy of all the Jews, had devised against the Jews to destroy them, and had cast lots, that is the lot, to consume them and to destroy them. But when Esther came before the king, he commanded by letters that his wicked device, which he devised against the Jews, should return upon his own head, and that he and his sons should be hanged on the gallows. Wherefore they called these days Purim, after the name of Pur. Therefore, for all the words of this letter, and of that which they had seen concerning this matter, and which had come unto them. So this is where, Pur is that the lot that Haman cast lots, and that's Pur. Now this day is Purim, and it's a Jewish feast. And it happens towards the end of the year. I wonder if this has any ties to well, no. The date that we picked for Christmas is, if you subtract 9 months from May 1st, you get December 25th. That's why we picked the day December 25th. Has nothing to do with pagans. Has nothing to do with Samhain. Has nothing to do with Sol Invictus. Has nothing to do with Ra, or I forget all the gods. I'll have all the Mithra. Has nothing to do with any of that crap. Samhain doesn't even start on the 25th. It starts on the 12th on the old calendar and the 17th on the new calendar. Crazy. People say Christmas is based on Sol Invictus or Samhain, which are two totally different things, by the way. And then the Nords will say we stole it from the Nords. They stole it from us. Our history goes back way longer than their history. But anyway, yeah, the reason we have December 25th is because there's a verse in Deuteronomy that talks about a righteous man dies on the same day he was conceived. And so if Jesus died, or the same day he's born, or maybe conceived. Dies on the same day he was conceived. No. Wait. He dies. How did they work it out? I forget. I forget. I'm gonna have to put notes together for this, but um, if he was born 9 months, or no, dies on the same day he was conceived. So if he died on May 1st, that would mean he was conceived on May 1st. So you add 9 months to May 1st, you get December 25th. That's where we get Christmas from. The Jews ordained and took upon them, what's up, Auntie? And upon their seed, and upon all such as join themselves unto them, so as it should not fail, that they would keep these 2 days according to their writing and according to their appointed time every year. And that these days should be remembered and kept throughout every generation, every family, every province, and every city. And that these days of Purim should not fail from among the Jews, nor the memorial of them perish from their seed. Then Esther, the queen and daughter of Abihail, and Mordecai the Jew, wrote with all authority to confirm this second letter of Purim. And he sent the letters unto all the Jews to the 127 provinces of the kingdom of Ahasuerus, with words of peace and truth, to confirm these days of Purim in their times appointed, according as Mordecai the Jew and Esther the queen had enjoined them, and as they had decreed for themselves and for their seed the matters of the fastings and their cry. And the decree of Esther confirmed these matters of Purim, and it was written in the book. And the king Ahasuerus laid a tribute upon the land and upon the isles of the sea, and all the acts of his power and of his might, and the declaration of the greatness of Mordecai, whereunto the king advanced him, are they not written in the book of the chronicles of the kings of Media and Persia? For Mordecai the Jew was next unto King Ahasuerus, and great among the Jews, and accepted the multitude of his brethren, seeking the wealth of his people, and speaking peace to all his seed. See, even this book should be called Mordecai. Like, the book of Ruth, I still think Ruth was based, but like, well, maybe the book of Ruth could stay the book of Ruth. But this book of Esther, like, what did Esther really do? She was pretty. She was pretty, and she cooked the king some dinner and asked him for some favors, and he did it. Mordecai was the one putting in the work, you know. This book should be called Mordecai. Okay? But still, Esther was pretty based. When it's Women's History Month, I'm gonna have to make a list of we're gonna have to make a tier list of all the women of the Bible based rankings. Based rankings of all the women of the Bible in Women's History Month. Whatever month that is. What is that? When's Women's History Month? Isn't that in like February? No, that's Black Month. When's Women's History Month? Better not be October. I'll be pissed. March. So we got a while. Next March, somebody's gonna have to remind me. We got to do a based woman tier list for all the based women of the Bible. Elizabeth was based. You know what's next, guys? I got a lot of notes on this book. Job. I've already done a whole breakdown of the book of Job on a Monday night stream. But we didn't read the whole book. I just read most of it. She raised John the Baptist knowing what he was a prophet. That's some pressure. No, I'm not having a good day. My dog is not doing well, and I'm worried. What's wrong with the pooch? He hasn't eaten in like more than a week. He can't poop, and I don't know. He won't eat chicken. He won't eat steak. I tried giving him sweet potatoes. I tried giving him white rice with chicken. And then today, when I came home from work, he couldn't even stand up to go outside. Like, even though he's been sick, he still wants to go outside when I say outside. But now I finally got him to stand up. But like when he stood up, he like puts his front paws down and they like spread out because he can't like lift his back end up. And then we walked down the stairs really slow. He went outside. He doesn't run. He just stands in the front yard. Usually we walk around the block, but he just stands in front of the apartment, and he tries to poop and he can't poop. And then he couldn't go up the stairs, so I had to carry him up the stairs. And yeah, it's a mess. Echo, come here. Come here, bud. Echo. He's trying to get up. Come on, Echo. I think he's coming. Echo. How old is he? Like 12 or 13? Echo. Time to bring him in. What am I gonna? I ain't got no money for all that. Echo, come here. I don't know. My mom was saying that they have people that come to your house and will like put him to sleep or whatever, and then take him. I don't know if he needs that yet. He's not like crying in pain. He's not like he doesn't seem in pain. He's not like moaning or Echo. He just won't eat. He won't eat anything. They make CBD for dogs. I don't know about all that, but he won't eat. I even yeah, we don't need to have that conversation, Marshall. we have that conversation on that topic. I don't feel like having that conversation with. I mean, I'll tell you guys what's going on, but I don't need advice. You can give me advice on what might help, and everybody has, and I've tried it. I've tried the white rice, I've tried the pumpkin. I've tried crushed Pepto-Bismol that I put in the pumpkin, but he won't eat the pumpkin. So I even put a little bit of crushed Pepto-Bismol in his water. Not a lot, very tiny bit, and it's like baby Pepto. Echo, come on, bud. He can't even come in here. He's just panting out there. I heard dogs like will go away from you, like they don't want to be near you, like they'll go off to be alone when they die. And I don't know. He's not like, I don't know. Echo, come on. I hear you moving around out there. You trying to come in here? Buddy, buddy, you okay? You just need to eat food, I think. He won't eat. Well, when I got that canned food, he ate that. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. I'm supposed to take him to a vet. I don't have money for a vet. I don't have a car. Echo, what are you doing, bud? Anyway, don't worry about it. I gotta go. I gotta go to bed. We did the whole book of Esther in one sitting. That was easy. He's on a hunger strike till I get a girlfriend. You know what I feel bad about is he might be a virgin. As far as I know, as far as I or my brothers know, he never had sex. That's what I'm sad about. That's why Daddy Jub was gonna start an app called Dogstitute, where it was like people with like girl dogs could like hoe them out for boy dogs that were lonely. Dogstitute app. I think it's a good idea because I would get Echo a Dogstitute. LL Long. I don't know what that means. But yeah, I would hook Echo up with a Dogstitute right now. I don't think he could even bust though right now. He just need a bus. That's what he needs. Anyway, I'm gonna go. Uh, I probably won't stream tonight. I'm very tired, and I want to get some. I want to get a good chunk of sleep in. So, um, I still haven't bitten my nails, man. They're getting long. I can like run my teeth underneath them. It's so tempting to bite them. I haven't bitten my nails in like 2 weeks. I do have a hangnail I want to bite. Don't do it. Don't do it. I didn't do it. I didn't do it. This is the most fingernails that I've ever had in my life. Look, this one I actually have like white starting to. You see the white at the top? I have the white layer. I'm not writing it, I'm just writing it on my teeth. I can get my whole dang tooth under there. Go to bed. All right. Good night, everybody. Have a good one. I'll see you later.